What if I told you that for the world's wealthiest families, a will is one of the least important documents they have? It's true. They're playing a completely different game, one that lets them shield their wealth from taxes, lawsuits, and even their own sometimes misguided descendants for centuries. The heart of this strategy is a powerful tool called a dynasty trust, and today we're breaking down exactly how it works and why it's the ultimate key to building generational wealth. This isn't just about picking the right stocks or having a slick accountant. This is about sophisticated legal architecture, a fortress built of paper and law, designed for one purpose: to last forever. The average person thinks about passing wealth to their kids. Old money thinks about passing wealth to their great-great-great-grandchildren. The difference in that mindset is everything, and it's what separates a fortune that lasts a lifetime from a legacy that lasts for generations. We're going to pull back the curtain on the legal playbook that families like the Rockefellers have used to maintain their influence for over a century. You'll see how these structures work, why they are so incredibly effective, and what makes them so tough to crack. This is the story of how fortunes aren't just made, but made permanent. Picture a family that spends 50 years building a successful business. Through pure grit, sacrifice, and smart decisions, they build a fortune worth tens of millions of dollars. They do what you'd expect. They create a standard will, leaving everything to their two children, split right down the middle. Seems like the American dream, right? But then the dream starts to fall apart. First, the estate gets hammered by a massive estate tax bill, carving away millions right off the top. Then, 5 years later, one child goes through a nasty divorce, and half of their inheritance walks out the door with their ex-spouse. The other child, well-meaning but totally inexperienced with money, makes a string of terrible investments and loses almost everything. Within a single decade, more than 75% of the family's 50-year fortune is just gone, wiped out. This isn't some rare, scary story. It's tragically common. In fact, research from the Williams Group has shown that 70% of wealthy families lose their wealth by the second generation and 90% lose it by the third. And it's not just taxes. It's a combination of family drama, lack of preparation, and not having the right protections. This is a common story, but it is not the story of old money. Because old money families know the truth. The biggest threats to a fortune aren't market crashes. They're the predictable, relentless forces of taxes, creditors, divorces, and simple human error. And to fight those forces, you don't use something as flimsy as a will. You use a fortress. Section 1. The Great Wealth Illusion and the Fortune Destroyers. Most people think that once you've earned a fortune, it's yours to keep. You just pass it down. That's a dangerous illusion. The reality is that a large fortune is like a sandcastle against a rising tide. Without constant strategic protection, it's going to get washed away. The forces working against your wealth are powerful, relentless, and baked right into our legal and tax systems. Let's meet the fortune destroyers. First, and the toughest of them all, is the tax man. When you die, the federal government can levy an estate tax on your assets, with rates as high as 40%. This isn't the small trim, it's a financial guillotine for generational wealth. But it gets worse. There's another more obscure tax called the Generation Skipping Transfer Tax, or GSTT. This tax was created specifically to stop people from just leaving money to their grandkids to dodge the estate tax on their kids' generation. While not strictly additive, the combination of these two taxes can be devastating. In a worst-case scenario with poor planning, a massive chunk of your wealth could be taxed twice before it ever reaches your grandchildren. The system is literally designed to prevent dynasties. The second fortune destroyer is the lawsuit. We live in a world where anyone can sue anyone for anything. If you have a high net worth, you're a walking target. A car crash, a business deal gone sour, someone slipping on your property, any of it can lead to a catastrophic lawsuit. If you or your kids own assets directly, in your own name, those assets are on the chopping block. A single jury verdict can undo a lifetime of work. The third fortune destroyer is divorce. When your child gets an inheritance outright, that money often becomes marital property, especially if they mix it into a joint bank account or use it to buy the family home. With divorce rates hovering around 50%, there's a good chance half of that inheritance could walk out the door with their ex-spouse. A fortune carefully built by your family can end up in the hands of another. A simple will offers almost zero protection against this. And finally, the fourth and maybe most destructive force, the heir themselves. This is the spendthrift, the kid or grandkid who just isn't ready for the responsibility of a huge inheritance. History is filled with stories of fortunes squandered on fast cars, bad business ideas, and reckless living. The Vanderbilt family is the poster child for this. They built one of the greatest fortunes in American history, and just a few generations later, it was almost all gone. Giving someone a pile of money without any structure is often more of a curse than a blessing. These four forces are why most family fortunes don't survive. Old money gets this. They don't just hope for the best, they plan for the worst. And their plan centers on one ingenious legal structure that neutralizes all four threats at once. Section 2. The Old Money Playbook Beyond the Will. So if a will isn't enough, what's the centerpiece of the Old Money Playbook? It's the trust. But not just any trust. We're talking about a specific, highly advanced, and powerful type of irrevocable trust, the dynasty trust. To get why this is such a game changer, you have to understand the huge difference between owning an asset and controlling it. When you inherit money from a will, you own it. The cash is in your bank account, the deed has your name on it. It's yours. And because it's yours, it's vulnerable to creditors, to a divorcing spouse, and to estate taxes when you die. A trust creates a brilliant separation. The legal owner of the wealth is the trust itself. Think of a trust as a private company that you create. It has its own tax ID number, and it owns the assets, the stocks, the real estate, the cash. The person who creates it, the grantor, writes a detailed rule book, the trust agreement, that says exactly how the money is to be managed and distributed. And the person who enforces that rule book is the trustee. Here's the magic. The beneficiaries, your kids and grandkids, never actually own the assets in the trust. They have a beneficial interest, meaning they get the benefits according to your rules, but they don't hold the legal title. This sounds like a small detail, but it has massive consequences. As the old money saying goes, the goal is to own nothing but control everything. The dynasty trust is the ultimate expression of this philosophy. What really puts the dynasty in a dynasty trust is its lifespan. Historically, a legal rule called the rule against perpetuities limited how long a trust could last, usually about 100 years. But a number of states, like South Dakota, Delaware, and Nevada, have changed or completely gotten rid of that rule to attract trust business. Some states now allow trusts to last for hundreds of years, like Nevada's 365-year limit, or even forever. They are literally designed to last for an entire dynasty, perpetually shielding wealth from the fortune destroyers generation after generation. This is the cornerstone. It's a legal fortress designed to be impenetrable from the outside and managed with discipline from the inside. It transforms a fragile, exposed fortune into a permanent family institution. Section 3. Deconstructing the Dynasty Trust, the triple shield of protection. The Dynasty Trust isn't just a vault, it's an active defense system. Its power comes from what I call the triple shield, a three-layered defense that protects wealth from taxes, creditors, and bad decisions. Let's break down exactly how each shield works. Shield number 1, the tax shield. This is the first and stunning benefit. As we saw, estate and GST taxes can be brutal. A dynasty trust pretty much neutralizes this threat. Here's how. When you create and fund the trust, you use up some of your lifetime gift and estate tax exemption. For example, in 2025,
You can put a very large amount of money into the trust without paying immediate gift or estate taxes. Once those assets are in the trust, something incredible happens. They and all the money they ever make in the future are permanently gone from your taxable estate. But the real magic happens in the next generation. When your child, the beneficiary, dies, the assets in the dynasty trust are not included in their estate. Why? Because your child never legally owned them. The trust did. So there's no estate tax. The wealth flows seamlessly to your grandchildren with no 40% haircut. The same thing happens when they die. The assets skip their estate and go to the great-grandchildren, again with no estate tax. By using your generation-skipping transfer tax exemption when you create the trust, you shield it from that tax too for the entire life of the trust. The financial impact here is insane. Let's say $10 million is passed down outright. After 3 generations of 40% estate taxes, that $10 million could shrink to just $2.16 million. Now, put that same $10 million in a dynasty trust. Protected from transfer taxes, and assuming it grows modestly, it could be worth hundreds of millions by the 3rd generation. It's the difference between wealth decaying and wealth compounding tax-free. This is how old money doesn't just save wealth, it multiplies it. Shield number 2, the creditor and divorce shield. This second shield protects the family fortune from the outside world, the lawsuits and divorces that can destroy an inheritance. This might be the most practical protection the trust offers. Because the trust owns the assets, not the beneficiary, that money is generally out of reach of a beneficiary's personal creditors. Let's play it out. Your son, a beneficiary, is a surgeon. He gets hit with a multi-million-dollar malpractice lawsuit that his insurance doesn't cover. If he owned his inheritance, the lawyers would come for it. But since it's inside a dynasty trust, it's untouchable. The trust's assets are not his assets. The lawsuit fails. The family's capital is safe. This same logic provides incredibly strong protection in a divorce. An inheritance held in a properly structured trust is considered separate property, not marital property. The core wealth is locked away and generally can't be divided in a divorce settlement. It basically acts like an ironclad prenuptial agreement that can't be challenged. For a family trying to build a legacy, this is a non-negotiable layer of defense. It ensures the family wealth stays with the family. While no structure is 100% bulletproof, legal experts agree that a well-drafted dynasty trust is the ultimate asset protection tool. It builds a legal wall around the family fortune that is incredibly difficult for outsiders to climb.
Shield number 3, the heir protection shield. The third shield protects the fortune from the family itself, from well-meaning but financially irresponsible heirs. This is the spendthrift protection. When you create the trust, you set the rules for how money is paid out. You don't just dump a pile of cash on someone. Instead, you design a system of controlled access. For example, the trust could pay your child a set annual allowance. Or it might say the trustee can make larger payouts for specific approved reasons, like education, medical bills, starting a business, or buying a house. This structure stops a young or unprepared heir from blowing their inheritance. They can't just take out a few million on a whim to buy a yacht. They have to go through the trustee, who has a legal duty to follow your rules and manage the money prudently for everyone, including future generations. Better yet, many of these trusts include incentive provisions. These are clauses you can write in to encourage good behavior. For example, a trust could offer to match a beneficiary's earned income, encouraging them to have a career. It could set aside funds for education or reward charitable work. This way, the trust becomes more than just a piggy bank. It becomes a tool for shaping character and passing down your family's values. It ensures wealth is a foundation for success, not a cushion for laziness. This triple shield, tax, creditor, and heir protection, is the engine of wealth preservation.
It's a full-spectrum defense system that anticipates and shuts down the biggest threats to your family's financial future. If you're learning something new here and this is opening your eyes, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe. We go deep on the real strategies the wealthy use to build and protect their fortunes, and your support helps us make more videos just like this one. Now, let's talk about the person who holds the keys to this whole fortress. Section 4. The gatekeeper, the critical role of the trustee. If the dynasty trust is a fortress, the trustee is the gatekeeper. They hold the keys, enforce your rules, and are legally on the hook for managing the whole thing. Choosing a trustee is one of the most important decisions you can make, because with the wrong one, the entire plan can fall apart. So, who is this trustee? A trustee is a fiduciary, which is the highest standard of care under the law. They have a legal duty to act only in the best interests of the beneficiaries and to follow the rule book, the trust agreement, to the letter. They can't just do what they feel like. They are bound by your original vision. You generally have 3 choices for a trustee: an individual, like a trusted family friend, a corporate trustee, like a bank or a specialized trust company, or a mix of both. For many old money families, the default choice is a professional corporate trustee. Why? For 3 reasons: expertise, impartiality, and permanence. A bank's trust department has teams of investment managers, tax pros, and legal experts. They know how to run complex trusts and make smart investment decisions for the long haul. Plus, they're regulated and insured, which adds a huge layer of safety. More importantly, a corporate trustee is impartial. This is a huge deal when family drama comes up. Imagine your kid comes to you asking for a ton of money for a risky business idea. A family member acting as trustee would have a hard time saying no. They don't want to cause a fight. A corporate trustee, on the other hand, gets to be the bad guy. They can objectively look at the request, compare it to the rules you set, and say no without any emotion. This prevents a ton of family conflict. Finally, corporate trustees are permanent. An individual trustee will get old, slow down, or die. A company, on the other hand, exists forever, just like the trust. This means you get seamless management across generations without having to find a new trustee every few decades. The trustee's job isn't just to say no. Their job is to execute your plan. They make the payments, invest the assets, file the taxes, and keep the beneficiaries in the loop. They are the professional CEO of your family's legacy. And choosing the right one is just as important as designing the trust itself. Section 5. The Extended Playbook, Advanced Tools and Structures. The dynasty trust is the star player, but it's rarely the only tool on the field. Real generational wealth planning involves layers of different legal entities that work together for even greater protection and control. Here are a couple of the advanced plays. First is the Family Limited Liability Company, or FLC, or Family Limited Partnership, FLP. A family might put an asset, like the family business or real estate portfolio, into an FLC. The parents act as the managing members, and the kids' dynasty trusts are the non-managing members. This lets the parents keep total control over the business operations while still gifting shares of the FLC to their kids' dynasty trusts over time. It's a smart way to pass down value while keeping experienced hands on the wheel. Plus, it adds another layer of asset protection. If a beneficiary gets sued, the creditor can't just seize the family business. The best they can usually get is something called a charging order, which only gives them a right to distributions, which the family, as the managers, can control. It's another way to thicken the fortress walls, though its strength can vary by state. For the truly massive fortunes, we're talking hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, families might create their own private trust company. Instead of using a public bank, they create their own chartered company whose only job is to be the trustee for their family's trusts. This is often done in trust-friendly states like South Dakota or Wyoming. It allows the family to set their own rules, their own investment philosophy, and train younger generations in wealth management, all within their own private, regulated institution. The Rockefellers are a perfect example of using a complex web of family offices and private entities to manage their fortune. And of course, there are charitable trusts. Old money families often weave philanthropy deep into their legacy. Charitable trusts let them support causes they believe in while getting big tax benefits. It's not just about a tax write-off, it creates a positive public legacy and is a powerful tool for teaching the next generation about responsibility and purpose. All these tools are pieces of a much larger puzzle. They show that protecting wealth isn't something you do once. It's an active, ongoing, and incredibly sophisticated mission.
Section 6. The old money culture, stewardship over ownership. The legal structures we've talked about are incredibly powerful, but they're only half the story. The other half, the secret ingredient that makes it all work for centuries, is culture. It's a complete shift in mindset, away from the idea of ownership and toward the idea of stewardship. Someone who sees themselves as an owner thinks, "This is my money, and I'll do what I want with it." Their vision is limited to their own lifetime. The steward thinks, "This has been entrusted to my care, for the good of our family and for generations I'll never meet." This is the core philosophy of old money. They see themselves as temporary custodians of their fortune. Their main job isn't to spend it, but to protect and grow it for those who come next. This stewardship mindset shows up in a few key ways. First, an obsessive focus on education. Heirs aren't just handed a pile of cash when they turn 21. They're groomed from a young age to understand what wealth means. This isn't just about learning to read a stock chart. It's about learning the family history, the values that built the fortune, the legal structures that protect it, and the mission that gives it all purpose. Second is a culture of discretion. You've heard the saying, "Money talks, but wealth whispers." Truly wealthy families avoid flashy displays. They know that being loud attracts the wrong kind of attention and can spoil their kids. They teach their children the difference between price and value, and to prioritize long-term assets over fleeting luxuries. This isn't about being cheap, it's about thinking in generations, not seasons. Third is a focus on family governance. Many wealthy families create formal family councils or hold regular retreats. These are meetings where they discuss the family's finances, its charity goals, and its core values. It creates the sense of shared purpose and collective responsibility. They might even write a family constitution, a document that spells out the family's mission and vision, which then guides the trustees who manage the money. This cultural software is what runs on the legal hardware of the dynasty trust. Without a culture of stewardship, even the best legal plan will eventually fail. The trust protects the money from the heirs, and the culture protects the heirs from the money. When you combine those two things, you get the formula for a truly lasting legacy. The old money playbook is, at its heart, a total reimagining of what it means to be rich. It's a move from the short-term thinking of an owner to the permanent mindset of a steward. It's the understanding that a great fortune isn't a prize to be won, but a legacy to be guarded. The Dynasty Trust is a masterclass in strategic defense. By putting the family's wealth into its own legal entity, they create that triple shield of protection. They shield it from the blow of estate and GST taxes, letting it compound across centuries. They shield it from lawsuits and divorces, making sure the wealth stays in the family. And they shield it from being squandered, using a trustee to enforce discipline and promote the family's values. This isn't about hoarding money for the sake of it. It's about creating a permanent foundation from which future generations can build, create, and contribute. It's about turning financial capital into human capital. The Rockefeller family, now in its 7th generation, hasn't just preserved its fortune. It has funded incredible work in medicine, science, and the arts, all made possible by the structures put in place over a century ago. While these strategies were once only for the super rich, the principles are more accessible than ever. Understanding this playbook is the first step. It proves that preserving wealth is never an accident. It's a choice. It's the result of foresight, discipline, and a deep commitment to the future. It's how the rich stay rich and how a family name becomes a legacy. If this video opened your eyes to a new way of thinking about wealth, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We have a lot more content coming that breaks down the real techniques used by the world's most successful people. And if you found the idea of a family office interesting, you should definitely check out our video on how those operate next. Thanks for watching.